time. He says, "Where's the Air Force operations?" 4-star Air Force General. And I told him, "Sir, I don't really know, but they got a radar tent up there." So that radar tent was where if guys came back from Hanoi, Air Force guys, and they were damaged and had to eject, these guys had the radar, and he had communications with them where they could mark where this guy ejected or the plane went down, where they could send helicopters up to get it out. And that's why we didn't lose too many guys. You see, they got them back. And this was all that I know about that a lot of these other guys don't. It's all done right now. But anyway, this Air Force general, he saw these caribous down there with ARMY in white letters written on the side. There was no camouflage on them. And he went up there and asked those guys about it. And the guys said, "Oh, well, the Army Special Forces is using them to get in and out of these ships." Well, he went back to the States and complained about it. So the next thing you know, about 3 weeks later, instead of Army replacement pilots, we got Air Force guys. So these old guys that were 55 years old and at 60 they retired. Yeah. But they had the big butts on them and the big gut and all this other stuff. And they could fly the big B-52, but you got 8 engines on there. Or 8 engines. And when one goes out, they had a flight engineer on board there. He could kill the one and figure the fuel out and everything for the other ones and get the power into the other ones, whatever you needed to get it going. Where in the Army, you had to do it all yourself. Your fuel management, all this other stuff. And we always went with half tanks of fuel because then you could carry a load and get into these short strips. If you're real heavy, sometimes you can't get them stopped on the mud strips. Well, that was the thing. When the Air Force finally took them over from us, in the first 2 months, they crashed 5 of them. They'd get on a muddy strip, brakes like they did with the B-52 on concrete, where you do it on mud, or reverse pitch props and get one in and not the other, because when you landed down, you'd go up with the throttles, and that you had to wait. Which happened, when it went up, it hit some pressure switches that would put the props where they could go in reverse. And once you saw you had the 2 lights on, then you could pull power because you had to pull back on it, and that would throttle it up. And it was just like putting on the brakes, but it wasn't skidding the wheels. And you had to watch it. If it got turning one way or the other, you had nose wheel steering, but sometimes on the mud you had to be very careful. And if she started going one way or the other, starting to turn on you, well, you could release one or add a little power to one side to straighten it out. The Air Force guys couldn't do that because they always had a flight engineer that did the power. You see what I'm saying? First 2 months they had them, they crashed 5 caribous because they on the mud strips, short strips. So what did they do? They didn't teach the guys how to fly the damn airplane. Strip shorter than 1,500 feet long. They had to do it by helicopter. So in other words, when how the mountain get real foggy and then it starts picking up, and we could get in underneath at 500 feet above the trees, we'd take the stuff in or fly up into the weather. Time distance heading, it was maybe a half hour this way, 30 minutes on a westerly heading or 280. And usually when you had fog in there, you didn't have any wind. So usually the 280 heading would take you right to that camp. You flew this time out, and lots of that time by the clouds that start moving up, and you could find a hole, and we'd do a spiral down through that, find that camp, and go in and land it. The Air Force guys couldn't do it because there was no GPS, and you know what I'm saying?
They weren't trained like you guys.
Well, we tried to train them, but they wouldn't listen. They all had that big stuff. They thought to, and we only had enough fuel because we always went with half tanks of fuel because that makes it easier to stop. And you could fly for 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes on that. And that was more than adequate to get you there and back. So you couldn't sit out there all day long sitting there burning off fuel to wait to find that hole. You either was there, and lots of times you could get permission back to somebody else that somebody else needed the thing, and their place with the ATC would tell you that that's open down there. There's no fog. because each camp used to report in what they had, and we'd alternate and take it down to them. Very seldom do we bring a load back. The Air Force guys did it constantly.
Tell Julie about that time you picked up Papa Bill and took him on a plane and...
Yeah, the old man he took a job over there working as a civilian, working for the military. He was based down at Chulai. That was about 25 minutes flying time from Da Nang, south. I had a mission in the Chulai one time, and to drop stuff off. And that's when I met up with the old man. And I says, Pop, I gotta get down to Hot Town or somewhere like that. It's about 20 minutes from here. You wanna go for a ride?
Oh, so you stopped and picked him up?
Well, I didn't stop specifically to pick him up, although I did later on, because I got movies of him. And this one time, there was Captain Easter Day. He was the PIC at that time. I wasn't the PIC yet. And he was flying in the other seat. And I was flying pilot. And next thing I know, Captain Easter Day says, well, I've got the control. Actually, I was in the co-pilot seat. And I got out of the seat and went back, and next thing you know, Pop climbed up in the seat. And I got pictures of him flying the Caribou on the movies.
So how did he get in there?
Get in where?
Into the helicopter.
Well, it wasn't a helicopter, it was the Caribou. That was that big fixed
How did he
wing.
get into that?
Well, when we landed at Chulai.
So he snuck in?
Well, he was a Department of Army civilian. He was working for the Army. And there was a Marine base, but then we took him around to Hot Town and these other camps.
So he was flying it?
I got movies of him flying the
Wasn't there one time that you told him to buckle in, or he didn't and he went flying or something? You and Uncle Fred were telling me where...
Oh, yeah. When we got into Hot Town, because we were going to be landing into a strip. That's not like landing in Chulai, which was a 3,000-foot runway, PSP or whatever, or concrete. But it was a runway, but we were going into Hot Town. So then I was flying the thing. And I told Pop, I says, because he liked to stand up and walk around back there, because the Caribou was as long as this house, the cargo compartment and whatnot, with windows out all the time and looking out and all this other stuff. And I says, Pop, when we get ready to land, the crew chief will tell you to sit down and fasten your seatbelt. Well, Pop didn't do that. And we landed in Hot Town, and as soon as you touch down, say, here's your landing strip. See, this is Hot Town, and it's heading east-west. Although Chulai was north-south. But it had a lot of PSP, pressed steel planking. And in the morning when the dew was on, it's extremely slippery.
Right.
Just like being on ice with that big airplane. When we got into Hot Town, which was about a 980-foot long strip, and it had usually these special forces camps, they bulldozed them out of the side of a mountain, so you had to drop off on either end 50 or 100 foot and on the side, so you had to keep it going straight. And if you go using brakes, you're going to lose it. Or if you don't, or you get off on your reverse, sometimes you reverse the pitch and one of them doesn't go in. You've got to be able to counteract that and catch it and get it back out of the reverse pitch, or she'll run you right off the runway. They'll just turn you sideways. You see what I'm saying? The Air Force guys couldn't do that.
So then what about with Grandpa? Where was he? In the Caribou, and then you started to land, and then what happened?
And I told Pop, when we get ready to land, I'll have the crew chief tell you. But he was an enlisted guy in back, but he was a mechanic, and anything happened, you know, he'd know how to fix it. And he had help with the cargo and all that. And I said, Pop, when we go to land, you sit down and buckle up. I will. He didn't. We landed in Hot Town and reverse pitch props, because you got to get stopped. It's only a 1,000-foot long strip, 980 feet long or whatever. And when I looked back, Pop's picking himself up off the floor. Because he didn't do what I told him.
So he was flying around back there.
Yes, he was. But you know, the next time the camp we went in, I looked back and he was
There he was
strapped in.
buckled.
Because, you know, he had that broken shoulder and all that other stuff, broken back and all that stuff. So he had pain all his life. And he learned his lesson. Listen to what the kid's telling you next
Yeah.
time. On Christmas. Yeah, I used to take him all over down south there. And the other guy says, hey, let's stop and get your old man. Well, lots of times we'd stop in there, and the Vietnamese, they'd go get hold of him.
Oh, really?
He was Dinky Dow.
Nikki Dow?
Dinky Dow, that's what they
Dinky
called
Dow?
him. Yeah. Because he took
Oh,
care
that's
of
what that means.
He took care of him because like he was their baby, you know. He treated those Vietnamese like babies, the women, and the women did all the work over there. You go out and see all the shovel, the men were the laziest thing going, but the women did the work. Over in the Oriental way, they had the class, you see what I'm saying, and the women did the work. You get them on the field and they're all working in the guys. Oh, unbelievable, but I told the old man, Pop, when we go to land, I'll tell you, the crew chief will tell you, because we had the flight engineer in the back. We always call him crew chief. And here I thought Pop was
Doing what he was supposed to do.
He wanted to see. Then we come down and you put it up in reverse and you get two blue lights. And when you get these blue lights, you pull back on the throttle and it's like putting the brakes on. Air brakes, and it's like right now. When we got at the end of the roll, I looked back and here's Pop picking himself up off the floor. Next time, he had the seatbelts fastened. He learned his lesson. Oh, that was so funny.
Okay, so let's go through your book board.
Oh, now you're pushing me.
No. You have to